Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent Nintendo/gaming video for this week, for the week of September 6th to the 12th. Sorry I didn't do one last week, but I had to take some time off and spend some quality time with family and all that stuff. It's always important to, take a break every once in a while. And in case, I'm sure most of you hear on the news, there's the whole situation with the wildfires going out on the West Coast. I'm doing okay right now. I'm not in any danger or anything like that. There's been no issues, any evacuations. The only issue is that air quality isn't exactly great at this time because of the whole wildfires and all that, wildfires and all, but I'm doing fine and all that stuff. So, and why don't we take a look at some of the stories we'll be covering for this week's My 2 Cent. And we got 5 to actually cover that are sort of interesting though. We do have some information from Ubisoft's Forward, basically their digital event, and some announcements for the Nintendo Switch, with one that's sort of is it or isn't coming to the Nintendo Switch. We do have more rumors about the Switch Pro, and it's sounding more and more believable as the days go, but still I want to hear official confirmation on it. We also want to talk about Koei Tecmo and Nintendo teaming up to do a brand new Warriors game, which is unexpectedly was announced this week, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. And I also want to look over 2 stories that came out last week that I didn't cover because, I was on my break and all, taking time off with family and all, and that is rumors about a possibility of a Monster Hunter game coming to the Nintendo Switch, running on supposedly a custom Resident Evil engine that Capcom uses a lot, and the Mario Direct, and the rumors of that Super Mario Anniversary that's been floating around for quite some time. We got the official confirmation and so forth. So before we get started or anything like that, why don't we do a quick rundown in what is basically like to call the quick My 2 Cent part. Stories that caught my attention, maybe not in huge amount of details, but still caught my attention nevertheless. The first ones are basically 2 from EA, which is under fire basically from both their games, UFC 4 and Madden 21. With Madden 21, that game has been basically buggy and glitchy to the point that even on Metacritic, user scores are like abysmal at best. Supposedly EA is going to try to fix it and all that stuff, but it brings in the whole debate and argument about, ranging from annual release to this whole attitude of ship it broken now and patch it later, which I think is a dumb attitude to begin with, to recently controversies with Ultimate Fighting Champion 4, in which EA had to pull, they were basically putting in actual commercials into the video game, and that, didn't sit very well with a lot of consumers, and they have decided to sort of pull that out and all that stuff. I think it basically just shows how it gives the impression of how a lot of these companies are pushing, the whole argument of recurring user spending or monetization and all that BS to begin with. We also learn about some of the comments about basically that there are no plans to bring any Kingdom Hearts games to the Nintendo Switch. Supposedly they tried to bring some of the older ones, but supposedly couldn't work and all that stuff, which, I mean, again, I'm no video game expert or anything like that, but I will admit I find that kind of hard to believe and all that stuff. So I'm a little iffy about that comment. And finally, we've learned, Microsoft recently announced when the Xbox Series X and now the Series S that we've now learned about will be launching. It will be launching on November 10th, with the Series X launching at the price at $499, $500, to the S basically launching at $299, which is about $300. And supposedly the S will be the cheaper version, which will be just digital only, and the fact that it will prioritize, I think, frame rate more than the visual side of things and all that stuff. So it won't have all the bells and whistles that the Xbox Series X will have, though. I will say, after reading a little bit about Series S, the Xbox Series S, I'm a bit more open in getting that one over Series X. I know some might disagree with me on that, but it is something I'm willing to consider. I mean, honestly, I never owned an Xbox or anything like that, but it is worth something I will be willing to take a look at. Okay, with the quick My 2 Cent part now done, we'll get started with our first story. And this one has to do with Monster Hunter and all. Now, there's no doubt the series has really started to gain its popularity and all, especially with Monster Hunter World when that came out. And that really, I think, shot the series up really a whole lot. It sold incredibly well and all. But the series also had its place on the Nintendo systems, as games like Monster Hunter 4 and Monster Hunter Generation have both come to, the Nintendo 3DS, and even it had an entry on the Wii U and 3DS as well. I mentioned 3DS too. Plus, they also had it, the last entry was Monster Hunter Ultimate, I think, Generation X, and I think that sold very well and all on the Nintendo Switch, though. Maybe not as, though I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't as big as Monster Hunter World was and all that stuff. But since then, the series hasn't, we haven't heard much of whether or not another Monster Hunter game was going to come to the Nintendo Switch or not. That, and combined that Capcom's support for the Nintendo Switch has kind of been iffy at best, I would say. But a recent report, or a rumor that has come out by supposedly someone who has a history of doing insiders from Capcom, claims that not only will we be getting another Monster Hunter game for the Nintendo Switch, but it's possible it could run on what supposedly is a custom version of the Resident Evil engine, the same engine that powers games like Resident Evil 7, the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake, Devil May Cry 5, and I think the upcoming Resident Evil 8 game. From an article from Nintendo Life, it basically reads that, quote, Capcom has told fans multiple times that it won't be bringing the latest home console Monster Hunter game, Monster Hunter World, to the Nintendo Switch. At the company's 41st annual meeting of shareholders in June, though, management said it was open to developing a new entry that would be more popular with high school age bracket, aka new portable entry. Now, according to a supposedly Capcom insider by the name of Dus Goldman, who has made some accurate prediction in recent times, the Japanese company is getting ready to reveal a new Monster Hunter game for the Nintendo Switch soon. This game is allegedly running on a Switch-compatible version of the RE engine, Resident Evil engine, instead of an older MT framework engine. However, although supposedly this insider also said that while they claim it's running on this compatible engine, they also shot down any attempts of the other Resident Evil games coming. They said, quote, this person said, quote, I will crush one dream with my Resident Evil engine Switch talk. Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Remake 2 and 3 aren't coming to the Switch. They tried to port Resident Evil 7 to Switch for a while at one time, but had difficult getting any satisfaction result. Resident Evil game, RE engine games for Switch will need to be made with Switch in mind. So apparently what this person's saying is that if you were hoping for Resident Evil 7 or the 2 or 3 remake coming to the Nintendo Switch, they're claiming it's unlikely to happen or anything like that. While I'm not the biggest Monster Hunter fan out there, though, I do think the series is enjoyable, though, and if this rumor is true, assuming this is true to be exact, I'm definitely open to the idea of another one coming to the Nintendo Switch, and I'm very curious to see how this custom version of the RE engine running on the Nintendo Switch is going to be. It's going to be very interesting to see how this works, though, and assuming this is true, assuming they can't get Resident Evil 7 or the 2 or 3 remake for the Nintendo Switch, though, it does make you kind of wonder, could they do something with, like, say, Resident Evil 8? I mean, it's possible. It may not be possible on that one. But one possibility Capcom could do, assuming this Monster Hunter game is running on a custom version of the RE engine designed for the Switch, is why not, say, port over, say, something like, or do, like, say, a Resident Evil Revelation 3 for the Nintendo Switch? Why not build that one with the Switch in mind, running on this custom Resident Evil engine designed for the Switch? I mean, they could do something like that. If we're not going to get 7 or the remake of 2 or 3 or even Resident Evil 8, why not do something like bring Resident Evil Revelation 3, make that one designed for the Nintendo Switch? I mean, it's a possibility, but we'll have to wait and see. So overall, Very curious about this rumor. Still have to wait to see confirmation on this, but I am curious, assuming this is true, how this custom Resident Evil engine for the Switch would look like especially if they're using this rumored Monster Hunter game. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 2, and this one has to do with the Mario Direct that happened last week. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video. But before we get started on the second part that I'm going to be talking about, which is the Mario Direct, I do want to cover one other quick My 2 Cent that just recently broke while I'm recording this video and all that stuff. And that apparently it seems as though Apple may have changed some of their policies that will allow services like NVIDIA's GeForce Now, Stadia, and possibly Project xCloud or xCloud to actually be used on Apple devices like iPhones and iPads. This one just broke from CNET, and it's basically stating that Apple is changing its App Store's rules to allow game streaming service which lets people play video games over the internet in a way that's similar to how they stream movies on Netflix. The move marks the iPhone maker's acknowledgement of changing the way some people are playing video games. Apple says the new rules will allow apps that connect to game streaming services such as Sony's PlayStation Now, Microsoft's Xbox xCloud, Google Stadia, and NVIDIA's GeForce Now. But there is a catch, and unfortunately here's the catch though. Apple won't simply let the game companies publish an app like movies and TV companies do. Instead, game streaming firms are required to submit an app for each individual games on their service, which Apple will then review just like any of the other 1.8 million programs in the App Store. As a result, people who want to use a game streaming service will find its associated games on the Apple App Store, with reviews and ratings like every other app. When they open the game, it's likely then connected to the streaming service and let them be in play. This also means that if a subscription service offers 100 games, each one will need a separate app that connects to that service. So I will say that on one hand, this is somewhat of a step in the right direction, but on the other hand, though, I think this seems a little ridiculous that Apple's not letting you basically do the streaming stuff like you do with, Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Instant Video or Disney Plus. I mean, so yes, this is good, but in some ways it's also a bit of a nuisance and somewhat annoying that Apple is doing this, though. So yes, I appreciate they're changing the direction on this, but I think this is certainly somewhat of a step in the right direction. Or I look at it more like it's one foot step forward, but another foot step back. So great that Apple is changing some of their tone on this, but at the same time, I think the fact that you need separate apps for some of these games, that I think it's a little bit somewhat ridiculous. At least in my view, I think it is somewhat ridiculous. Alright, so anyway, with the quick My 2 Cent part now done, that very breaking news quick My 2 Cent part, we'll get to our main one, and this one has to do with the Mario Direct that happened last week. Now, I'm sure some of you may agree or disagree with this, though, but to me, Mario is probably one of the most iconic characters out there. I view him as being as iconic as, say, like Bugs Bunny is to Warner Brothers, Mickey Mouse is to Disney, or stuff like the Jetsons, Flintstones, or Yogi Bear and Scooby-Doo to the Hanna-Barbera brand, indeed. So to me, I view Mario in this that kind of light, though, and he has starred in numerous games and all that stuff. So it's interesting this year that we started to hear rumors about the possibility that Nintendo might be planning something for the 35th anniversary of the Mario series, though. Of course, we've also heard that a lot of that was thrown into the loop due to the whole situation with COVID-19 and so forth. Well, last week, Nintendo dropped a Direct, though, and a Direct that I think certainly was better than the last two mini directs, though, not counting Indie World. I thought that one was good, though. And this one was a Mario focus one. And honestly, I thought this was a good Mario focus one. So basically what they dropped in the direct, and some of the information they dropped were basically the fact that Super Mario All-Stars was coming to the Super NES game library if you're part of the Nintendo Switch online, though. They basically also did merchandise, though. They have like Puma t-shirts, products. Not really my type of thing, though. I'm sure some people like it, though, but others don't. Some of the big some of the other features they had were the Game & Watch Super Mario Brothers. That means the original Mario Brothers in the old Game & Watch back in the 80s and all that stuff. I mean, again, that looks nice and all that stuff. I mean, it also has the lost levels in it as well, but it would have been nice if they added not only that, but Mario Brothers 2 and 3, but it is what it is, though. It will be released on November 13th at $50, and it's supposed to be a limited run. We also learned that Nintendo will also be showing us the Super Mario 35, which is a battle royale, kind of similar to, I think the battle royale they did with Tetris, though. So it's a really neat idea. The idea that you can also hinder other players using the classic Super Mario Brothers setting and all that stuff. Again, that looks nice. I would like to see them use maybe like, say, settings for Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario Bros. 3, or Super Mario World, or even the settings for New Super Mario Brothers would be nice. But either way, it's Super Mario Brothers in a battle royale kind of a setting, which is also certainly that certainly looks nice. I will be looking forward to that one. We also learned that they would be bringing over what is basically the a Super Mario kind of Mario Kart Live Home Circus. Basically what it is that it's these toy set that you set up and use augmented reality, and you can actually use like a room in your house to basically actually recreate like some racing in like the Mario Kart games and all that stuff. It sounds like an interesting idea based on the footage that they showed of that, though. But there are still some questions about it in terms of basically, does the floor have to be solid, like it has to be flat or anything like that? We're also wondering how big of an attention span that will have for people. And of course, like the worried about like your animal, like your cat or your dog attacking it, or a child accidentally or something like that. So it sounds like an interesting idea, but whether it will catch on or not, that remains to be seen. But for me, the two biggest announcements that came out of this was Super Mario World 3D Remade coming, and basically Super Mario 3D All-Stars. For those who are not familiar, Super Mario World 3D is the port of the Super Mario 3D World game that was released back on the Wii U. For me, though, I thought that was a good game. I'm not saying it was an awful game or anything like that, but when it coming off the high that was Super Mario Galaxy 2, I felt this kind of was sort of the low and anything like that. To me, it felt like more like an enhanced version of Super Mario 3D Land that was released on the Nintendo 3DS and all. But again, like I said, it's not a bad game, though, or anything like that. It just isn't the high that Mario Galaxy 2 was. But at the very least, it's coming over to the Nintendo Switch, which is certainly nice. And on top of that, though, we're also getting basically Bowser's Fury, which is some new content for the game, though, along with new amiibos, Cat Mario and Cat Peach. And supposedly, this will also feature not only local multiplayer, but also online as well. So that's kind of interesting. So I might give this one another go, though. I still think Mario Galaxy 1 or 2 are the high points, though, but I did enjoy Super Mario 3D World, and the addition of Bowser Fury, I'm kind of curious to see how that is. So that's one I'll be keeping an eye out, though. But the big one, obviously, is, of course, Super Mario 3D All-Stars. This is basically three of the 3D Mario games. Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy, though. And I will say that was probably the highlight to me, because I consider two of them though. Third one I still think could see as a classic though. Mario 64 is a classic. I remember playing that game when that came out in 1996, and of course Super Mario Galaxy, which I kind of agree feels like the spiritual sequel to Super Mario 64 though. So I'm definitely looking forward to that one though. If I have criticisms for this 3D collection, I will say some of the criticism range from, I do kind of wish that they added Super Mario Galaxy 2 to this list, although rumor has it we could see it next year as a DLC and all that stuff. And some of the decision to make it a limited run on this one, I'm mixed on that one. I don't like the idea of it being a limited run though, but they're going to have the limited run up that will come from now to March of 2021. So you have time, but I still think it's kind of ridiculous. I still don't 100% agree with the decision to do a limited one, but it is what it is. Some interesting things about the 3D All-Stars is that for Galaxy though, you can actually use the traditional Pro controller though, and hit the Y button, not have to shake the controller like you did with the Wii remote and nunchucks, although this does support the two Joy-Cons, so you got that. In terms of resolution, according to what we understand, each of the games resolution is Mario 64 will be 720p both dock and handheld mode. Mario Sunshine 1080p docked, 720p in handheld. Mario Galaxy 1080p docked and 720p in handheld mode though. Overall, I would say this was a good Direct, and I like some of the games that they certainly announced, or should I say some of the stuff they announced though. To me, the highlight was Super Mario 3D World and the 3D All-Stars, which is Mario 64, Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy though. Sunshine, it didn't wow me in the same level as what Mario 64 was, mostly because of the fact that 3D kind of set in at that time compared to what it was in 1996. But that was still a good game, and I'm looking forward to trying that one out. So to me, the highlight was Super Mario 3D All-Stars. But like I said, the broad consensus I would say is that this was a good Direct though. Even though it was a Mario themed Direct, it was certainly is a good Direct. It'll be kind of interesting to see next year. I think it might be the 35th anniversary of Zelda. It'll be very interesting to see if they do something like that for the Zelda series. I mean, after all, we're hearing rumors about the possibility that Skyward Sword could make its way over to the Nintendo Switch, but we'll have to wait and see. But overall, for a Direct, even though it was just a Mario themed Direct, I thought it was a good Direct, nevertheless. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with the surprise announcement from Koei Tecmo and Nintendo, and that is basically Hyrule Warrior Age of Calamity. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one we're going to be talking about a new game from Nintendo and Koei Tecmo, particularly titled Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity though. Now when it comes to the Warrior series though, the series is kind of sort of a hit and miss for some folks out there. There are those who like it, and there are those who don't. Some of it feels like it's too repetitive and all, though. I don't hate the Warrior series and all that stuff, but I'm not a big fan of not a huge fan of the Dynasty Warriors one. I mean, seriously, how many times can you retell the whole Romance of the Three Kingdom story, though? It gets to the point where it's just like, okay, you're kind of like pushing it a little too far and all that stuff. But we have seen some spin-offs using the Warriors series as well. We've seen some mostly from Nintendo, which is basically the ones that did like Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors. Both were still Warriors games no matter what, but incorporated certain elements from those series though, particularly both of them did. Hyrule Warriors incorporated, like ranging from Pieces of Hearts to even adding stuff like Adventure Mode, which are shorter battles, and all, while Fire Emblem Warriors incorporated certain elements from, like some of their stuff, such as some strategic parts like the weapon wield, like sword beats axe, axe beats spear, spear beats sword, to actually moving your characters to like fight a certain enemy and actually maybe winning the battle and all that stuff. So, but those type of Nintendo themed warrior games I've always enjoyed, because I feel like they are a cut above like the other warrior games out there, at least from my point of view, though. Well, now apparently out of nowhere, Nintendo kind of surprised us with this team up with Koei Tecmo, announcing basically the new game Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. So in an article from GameSpot, though, it reads that, quote, "A new Legend of Zelda spin-off is coming to the Nintendo Switch this November. Titled Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, the game is another Dynasty Warrior-style Zelda adventure developed jointly by Nintendo and Koei Tecmo, and it serves as a prequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Set 100 years before the event of the Switch launch title, Age of Calamity chronicles the great calamity that devastated Hyrule. As in previous Hyrule Warriors, the game will feature multiple playable characters, each with different playstyles. Players will be able to take control of Link and Zelda and the 4 champions of Hyrule, and use their unique skills to cut through hordes of Ganon's minions. Along with the aforementioned characters, a small guardians can be seen among the heroes in the game's official key arts, suggesting it could be playable as well. In addition to over-the-top battles, Age of Calamity will incorporate traditional Zelda elements like puzzles. Players will need to use the Sheikah Stone and other skills to overcome these and other environmental obstacles. Nintendo also said the game features a robust story that depicts the events, relationships, and dramatic moments of the Great Calamity in captivity details. According to Koei Tecmo, one of the folks who serve as Age of Calamity's producer, the game was created in close collaboration with Nintendo. Unlike previous Hyrule Warriors games, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity was developed by working closely with the Zelda team in every step of the process, including gameplay, direction, graphics, worlds, and all dialogues. They also said that they would basically reveal more information on September 26th. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is not the Breath of the Wild sequel that was announced back in June 2019. Development on that game is still progressing. The series producer confirmed in a video message, although he noticed that we will have to wait a bit longer for news about that. The game is set to come out on November 20th, though. The fact that we have to wait a little bit longer for the sequel to Breath of the Wild isn't that surprising, especially, again, with COVID-19 and so forth, kind of throwing things out in a loop and all that stuff. But still, this announcement of this unexpected entry into the what's now many are going to call the Breath of the Wild trilogy is sort of neat, though. Like I said before, I always thought Hyrule Warriors was a cut above other Warriors games, and this one I am kind of curious to see, especially with the art style and the gameplay, to see, do they shake things up? Do they stay close to the original Warriors formula and so forth? So I am very, very curious about this one, as this is definitely one I will keep an eye out. Indeed, it does make you kind of wonder, was this supposed to be announced during maybe like when E3 was supposed to happen and all? But based on the footage that they showed so far, I'm actually kind of impressed with it. I'm curious to see, but like I said, I'm curious to see what kind of gameplay mechanics do they bring to the table, though. And what's interesting is I've heard reports that supposedly with this announcement, the other Hyrule Warriors, particularly one on Switch, titled Definitive Edition, recently sales have shot up for that one, which I'm wondering if maybe those who may have missed out on that one suddenly saw this and figure, hey, wasn't there one called Definitive Edition and all? So, but I will say that while this isn't like Hyrule Warriors 2 or anything like that, that would be nice if they were to do something like this. Nevertheless, it is one I will definitely be keeping an eye out for. And obviously with this and Breath of the Wild 2, hopefully, which I hope we hear some information at some point soon, we're basically seeing what I think many are now calling a Breath of a Wild trilogy. So overall, I would say a surprise announcement from Nintendo, but definitely a good one indeed. And this is definitely one I'll be looking forward to picking up, though. But before I end this video, there's one more part in terms of Koei Tecmo I do want to report, though, or at least a story I picked up on, and that apparently it appears as though Koei Tecmo could be bringing back a one of their IPs, basically the Ninja Gaiden games, and we could be seeing this coming to the PS4 and the Nintendo Switch, at least if this rumor is true. According to a report from Destructoid, they are reading that, quote, Game Source Entertainment, a Hong Kong software distributor, briefly hosted a listing for a Ninja Gaiden trilogy supposedly coming to PS4 and Nintendo Switch platform in 2021. While the listing was swiftly removed, fast thinkers over at Reset Era were able to capture a catch of the product page, which noticed that the bundle considers the 2007 Ninja Gaiden Sigma, 2009's Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, and finally 2012's release of Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. According to the listing, the trilogy is scheduled for release in March of next year at a price point of around $40, though. Obviously, Koei Tecmo has not said anything at this time, though, but honestly, I would be down with this. I did enjoy the first Ninja Gaiden Sigma when that came to the PS3 back in 2007. I believe that was a enhanced version of the Ninja Gaiden and Ninja Gaiden Black that was released on the original Xbox. And I did enjoy Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 as well. Never got a chance to play Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor Edge, although some people claim they didn't like that game and all that stuff. But still, assuming this rumor is true, I do hope, I'm looking forward to, if it comes to the Switch, I think that would be great. Hopefully they can get the game running properly on the Nintendo Switch compared to the Vita version, which I would say, while not as bad as Borderlands 2 on the Vita was, it wasn't as good as, say, like what was on the PS3 or, yeah, like on the PS3 and so forth. So I'm hoping that, assuming this is true and that the Ninja Gaiden trilogy is coming to the Nintendo Switch, I do hope they get it to run properly on the Nintendo Switch as well. And Koei Tecmo, I would be open if you were to bring back, like Winback, Rygar would be nice. A brand new entry would be nice if you were to bring that back as well. And Crimson Sea 2, I would be down if you were to remake or port that one over to the Nintendo Switch. But hey, that's my opinion. That's all I have to say about that. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 4, and this one has to do with the whole Switch Pro rumors and new ones that are starting to pop up, which make it sound like it seems this rumor might be coming true. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 4 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at another Switch 2 or Switch Pro rumor. Now, I'm sure most of you have heard these rumors. Every once in a while, something will pop up. We've even heard ones pop up during 2017 when the Nintendo Switch officially launched. And most of these rumors have been debunked here and then. One person rumored about Nintendo releasing a Switch Lite, which later turned out to be true, but we never seen that revised version of the Nintendo Switch or, the next big leap, a Switch Pro or Switch 2. But as we start getting closer to the release of systems like the Xbox One X and S and the PlayStation 5, we're starting to hear, it seems as though these rumors have started to pop up, and they're sounding like some of this information may start to become a bit more accurate than they were in the past. In an article from Video Games Chronicles, it reads that, quote, Nintendo is reportedly telling developers to make their games 4K ready. Basically, the article is asking the developers as they prepare to launch an upgrade Nintendo Switch model. That's according to a new report from Bloomberg, which cites outside game developers familiar with Nintendo's plan. It's recently been claimed by two publications, including Bloomberg, that Nintendo is planning to launch a Switch Pro model in early 2021. It claims that the updated console hardware is yet to have its specifications finalized, but that it could feature an upgraded computer power and support for 4K resolution graphics. Bloomberg's latest story suggests that the new Switch will indeed be capable of 4K gameplay, potentially via NVIDIA's DLSS AI upscaling technique found in more recent versions of the Shield's mobile devices. DLSS is a technique which uses AI to upscale gaming to a much higher resolution with a minimum performance penalty. According to the report, Nintendo has asked its manufacturing partners to increase Switch production again, raising its goal to 30 million units for this fiscal year. It has reported previously raised its production order to 25 million in August as it continues to struggle with consumers' demands for Switch following the coronavirus pandemic, which I'm not surprised by that, considering that has really thrown a wrench at a lot of things, though. And huge success of Animal Crossing New Horizon, a niche series that has started to become more mainstream. Same with Fire Emblem. Nintendo, I think it's time the Advance Wars series gets that kind of treatment as well. Anyway, a Nintendo spokesman declined to comment on today's story. So, I will say some people would come out and kind of dismiss some of this report, as we've heard this same dog and pony show, though. But I will say, combined with this and a report came out earlier that NVIDIA was hiring people for, I think, DLSS to be used in their Tegra chipset, to me, it's sounding more and more believable as we get closer, as I should say it's starting to become more and more believable. Now, granted, I want to hear official confirmation and all that stuff, so I don't want to jump to conclusions and say the story is true or anything like that, but I could see this happening considering the partnership Nintendo has with NVIDIA, which supposedly is going to last up to 2 decades, and them using some of NVIDIA's technology like this DLSS, which could be an answer for them, for their whole, in regards to 4K and all that stuff. I doubt, unless there's something missing, I doubt Nintendo is going to actually do real 4K or anything like that. I mean, they might do upscaling to 4K, but I can't see them doing 4K or anything like that, though. But I mean, to me, this whole rumors are starting to sound more and more unbelievable. That and the fact that the next Tegra chip that supposedly will power the Switch will be based on the Voltron or Vola. I apologize for not saying the name correctly and all that stuff. Supposedly that will be powering the new Switch and all that stuff. Still, I want to hear official confirmation on this nevertheless, though. But I will say, overall, given some of the reports we've been hearing, given how some people are picking it up, and combined with the supposedly NVIDIA, I believe if I'm saying this correctly, looking to hire people to bring DLSS to their Tegra set, though, it's sounding more and more like the story is starting to become true. And given the fact that we're getting close to the Xbox Series X and S and PS5 about to come out, it may seem like this might be the time for Nintendo to consider releasing a more powerful Switch. Maybe on the similar to what we saw with the 3DS, when we went from the old 3DS to the new 3DS. It's possible that could be the kind of situation. Still, nevertheless, I want to wait to hear official confirmations before saying this is true or not. But like I said, it's starting to sound a little bit more believable, and as the old saying goes, where there's smoke, there's fire. The question is, where is that smoke coming from? Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 5, and this one has to do with the Ubisoft Forward event that happened this week. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fifth and final part of our My 2 Cent video. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Ubisoft Forward. For those, I'm sure most of you are aware of those, that was basically their digital presentation, you know, their take on it, their take on what a Nintendo Direct would be. Unfortunately, for this one, I didn't have time to watch it because mostly there were a lot of things going on. Work-related, some stuff I have to do around all that stuff, so I didn't get a chance to watch that one, which is unfortunate for me though. But I did sort of caught basically what was announced at a lot of these events, and I will say, based on what I've read so far, it seems this one fared somewhat better than the last one. But still, there were some announcements not everyone was a big fan of, and so forth, and so forth. So, according to several articles, first one from The Verge, it basically talked about what was announced at their event. And the first part they mentioned was Ubisoft addressing the issues that began to pop up, which was allegations made of basically reports of racism, sexual misconduct, and a lack of diversity. The CEO that apparently been part of Ubisoft's company's culture for years. The CEO says that, quote, "We are at the start of a long journey, and real change will take time." The company also announced 2 new programs designed to increase membership opportunity for women and individuals from underrepresented groups. Ubisoft says on that Twitter on saying that the CEO's message wasn't included in the main event due to timing constraints, but notes it will be added to the video when posted it for on demand. So in other words, they're saying they are addressing this event, whether they truly go through with it or not, or whether they actually address it or not, that remains to be seen. There's an old saying, action speaks louder than words. So in terms of what was announced at their Ubisoft event, there were some announcements though, such as Rainbow Six Siege will be coming to next generation consoles. I'm not really a big fan of the Rainbow Six Siege type of a game or anything like that. Watch Dogs Legions will feature Aiden Pierce and another character, Special Stormzy, Stormzy, which sounds nice, but it looks like they're all set to be part of a DLC expansion, all that stuff, you know, them announcing it before even the game comes out, which not everyone is a big fan of that approach. I might consider getting Watch Dogs Legions, but that one I'm sort of taking sort of a wait and see approach. Other announcement is basically they're adding turbo mode to Hyperspace, which is part of Hyperscape, which is part of their sort of their battle royale game. Not really something that interests me in any way though. And Riders Republic, they basically are doing for online games, which is a massive multiplayer game from the creators of Steep, though. The game is scheduled to come to February 25th, 2021 for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and X, Google Stadia, and PC. But I think the 3 big ones for me, though, would have to be Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game returns, which is basically the complete edition. I've heard some good things about that game. I never got around to playing it or anything like that, or at all. But since this one's going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch, I might give this one a go. I mean, I'm definitely, based on the footage that they showed, I'm definitely getting a little bit of, that Streets of Rage 4 or 5 with it though, so I'm definitely might want to keep an eye on this one though. I did see the movie. It was okay. It wasn't perfect, but there are those who like it, there are those who don't. Maybe it just didn't click with me as much as I thought it would though. But either way, I'll definitely keep an eye on the game for Scott Pilgrim versus the World returns. We also learned God and Monsters has now been named Immortal Phoenix Rising. I will say, trailer-wise, when they show off the trailer, I felt the song was completely off and all that stuff. But as far as the gameplay goes, it looks interesting. I'm definitely getting a Breath of the Wild vibe out of it, which certainly is a good thing, don't get me wrong. The part that worries me the most about this is that I fear as though that this could be another Starlink kind of a situation, where basically Ubisoft didn't really bring a whole lot of hype to that game. Not a lot of people were interested in it, despite having, Star Fox characters in it for the Switch version. To the whole Toys for Life concept did not click with a lot of folks, though, outside of, Amiibos, which seem to be doing better, since that's pretty much the only one surviving and all that, though. And when the game became a commercial flop, though, although the Switch version I heard fared a bit better, they discontinued the Toys for Life, and that franchise kind of disappeared, though. Even though I thought it wasn't a bad game, and it definitely gave you an idea of, of what a Star Fox game could be. So I'm a bit worried about this one. Plus, the whole Ubisoft recurring user spending and monetization, though. But I don't want this game to fail or anything like that, though. So I'm hoping it's a good game, though. I'm certainly going to keep an eye on it, though, and it might be something to keep people busy until, Breath of the Wild 2 comes out. But I have my concerns, but I'm going to keep an open mind on Immortal Phoenix Rising and give it the benefit of the doubt. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully this one does turn out to be good. I am curious to see how the Switch version will fare, though, since this is also coming to the Nintendo Switch, not to mention PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Stadia as well. It will be out on December 3rd. And last but not least, the other big one was the announcement of the fact that the game is basically a remake of the original 2003 release of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, which it's certainly nice, though, that they're bringing that game back and all that stuff. Basically, it's scheduled to come out January 21st to Xbox One, PS4, and PC. They're saying they're rebuilding the game from the ground up to use the modern Anvil engine and all that stuff. There has been some issues in regards of whether a Switch version exists or not. Were first reported that there was supposedly would be coming to the Switch when retail leaked it. Then there was saying that it's not coming to the Switch. Ubisoft Forward didn't, during the Ubisoft Forward event, didn't show it coming to the Nintendo Switch at all. But now apparently it seems it might to a certain degree. An article from Nintendo Life, which put up an update on Friday, says, quote, during the latest Ubisoft Forward broadcast, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake was officially announced for Xbox One, PS4, and PC. While there was no mention of a Nintendo Switch release in the trailer, a Ubisoft Twitter account later posted and then removed a tweet referencing a Switch version, and Switch pre-orders were available for a short period of time on the game's official website. In response to a tweet about the game potentially coming to Switch, senior analyst at Nikio Partner, Daniel Ahmed, AHMAD, who previously implied it won't be coming to the system at all, and they point out of an update below, said it won't be happening in January. Some of the posts basically had coming from someone named Stealth saying, quote, according to Ubisoft, the Prince of Persia remake is coming to the Switch. Going a little further down, they also posted, quote, the Prince of Persia website has an option for a pre-order for Switch, so I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe it meant to be announced for Switch at a partner's direct. And then Creed says, quote, also from the official website, I have a hard time believing Switch is on a primarily game website accidentally. I'm leaning towards the Switch version being announced at a different time. So, in regards to the Switch version of this Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake, you could look at it from two different views. On one hand, you could look at it as this might be a typo on Ubisoft's side, and that has happened before. When Lost Planet 3 was announced, some thought it was coming to the Wii U, but that turned out to be a typo and all that stuff. So it is possible it's that, but it's also possible it could be the kind of situation we saw with Assassin's Creed 3 Remaster, where they announced it for Xbox One and PS4, but they didn't announce it for the Nintendo Switch. It wasn't until a Nintendo Direct happened that we learned that the Assassin's Creed 3 Remaster was coming to the Nintendo Switch after all. So it's possible that Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remaster could be coming to the Nintendo Switch, but maybe they are waiting to announce it during, say, like a Nintendo Direct or something like that. I mean, if it doesn't come to the Nintendo Switch, one possibility is that they could bring over, say, maybe the Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sand, the game that was released back in 2010. There was a PS3 and 360 version, and then there was a Switch version. Indeed, Switch version wasn't that bad or anything like that. So I'm curious to see if they'll do something like that, or if basically Sands of Time remake is true and it does come to the Nintendo Switch. My fingers are crossed on hopefully that is true though. Overall, I would say this, based on what I read about this Ubisoft Forward, it sounds like this one was a little bit better. There were some good announcements and all that stuff, but most of the announcements were like, Like I said, I'm not big on Rainbow Six Siege. Watch Dogs Legions, I might get, but I'll probably wait down the road before I eventually get that one, though. And I'm not a big fan of the that dirt bike online multiplayer racing type of a game, though. But Scott Pilgrim's versus the World coming to Nintendo Switch and other platforms like the PS4 and all definitely is a plus. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remaster or remake, that it looks nice though. I mean, visually mixed bag to a certain degree. And Immortal Phoenix Rising, if I'm saying the name correctly, looks like an interesting game. I will give it the benefit of the doubt and keep an eye out on that one. But like I mentioned about the Starlink thing, though, I have some concerns. I have some fear that it could be another Starlink situation, that this one could flop as well. But like I said, I'll give that one the benefit of the doubt, and I'll take a wait-and-see approach. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about this rumor about another Monster Hunter game coming to the Nintendo Switch with supposedly running on a custom version of the Resident Evil engine? Do you think this rumor is true? Would you be open to seeing a Monster Hunter game? Another Monster Hunter game coming to the Nintendo Switch? And if there is a custom version of the Resident Evil engine, do you think Nintendo should consider making maybe, like, say, a brand new Resident Evil game, a la Resident Evil Revelation 3, and bring that over to the Nintendo Switch? What are your thoughts about the Mario Direct that happened, though? Are you pleased with what they announced at the Mario Direct? Were you happy with what they announced? Were you not happy with what they announced? Are you looking forward to getting something like Super Mario 3D World with Bowser's Fury, or the Super Mario 3D All-Stars in any way? What are your thoughts about Koei Tecmo and Nintendo announcing Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity? Were you surprised by this announcement? Are you looking forward to picking this game up? Were you disappointed to hear that Breath of the Wild, you have to wait a little bit longer? And in regards to the rumors about Ninja Gaiden Trilogy coming to the PS4 and Nintendo Switch, are you hoping this rumor is true? And if it is, are you thinking about getting the PS4 version, or do you think you would like to see how it would run on basically the Nintendo Switch? What are your thoughts about these new rumors about the Switch Pro or Switch 2, including basically Nintendo telling developers to make their games 4K ready, though? Do you think these rumors are true? Do you think this is another where there's smoke, there's fire, but the question is, where is the smoke? Or do you think, like any of these other Switch Pro rumors, this is just nothing more than just smoke and mirrors? And what are your thoughts about the Ubisoft Forward? Did you watch the new Ubisoft Forward? Did you like what they showed? Did you not like what they showed? Were there any games you were looking forward to based on what they announced at Ubisoft Forward, or that there wasn't really anything that interests you at all? Did you like what I said in this video? Did you not like what I said? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I do hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all a good day then. Bye!